been a long road home for the displaced Blue Bombers, one that's been anything but easy.
The Bombers will go home 0-4.
Now Alex Brink looks for redemption against one of the league's best defenses.
The Edmonton Eskimos all over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
They say there's no place like home. Well, the Bombers are banking on it. Winnipeg, Edmonton, next.
Simpson, a 5'9" spark plug, produced over 120 total yards last week. With the way the Bomber offense has struggled, I believe he needs to touch the ball 20 to 30 times if they want to have any success.
J.C. Sherritt right there, tackling machine, leads the league with 31 tackles. This guy's not very big, but he brings a big hat.
And guys, this is Jonathan Hefney, part linebacker, part defensive back. The sentence, Jonathan Hefney on the tackle, has to be heard over and over and over if the Bombers are going to win.
Not very big, but brings a big hat. Isn't that what they said about you, Matt Dunnigan, when you played quarterback?
I just try to bring it.
You used to scare the odd linebacker.
I try that.
Welcome into the studio, Chris, Matt, Milton, Jock, and we are getting set for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Edmonton Eskimos. Winnipeg playing their first of 4 games at home. They are very happy to be home. But let me ask you this. I'm trying to give a reason for the viewers to tune into this football game, because I know that people say, wait a second, this is the CFL. It's all about the passing. We have the 7th-ranked passer against the 8th-ranked passing team. Why should I bother watching? Well, there is a very good reason to watch this football game, and these guys are going to tell you. Chris?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'll give you 2. The 2 running backs on each of these teams are outstanding. They are productive. They are mighty mites with a whole lot of power. Hugh Charles for the Edmonton Eskimos is probably coming off his best game as a professional football player right there on the left. And then Chad Simpson, remember Fred Reed, remember also the other running backs that they've had. The injuries really hurt them, but this young man is for real. These are 2 very good running backs, guys. They can support their quarterbacks.
Schultze, I'll give you one big reason. The Edmonton Eskimo defense as a whole, best in the league right now, shutting people down to 14 points a ball game, and being in that position of quarterback and getting stymied 24/7 by a solid defense, that's tough. And can't forget this, folks that are watching. Look, the Edmonton Eskimos laid a beat down on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers the first time they saw them 3 weeks ago. Expect the Bombers to get back up and make this a fight.
Yeah, and this Bomber defense, they're going to have to come up big, and I think they can. They're playing against the #1 defense, so you know they want to match. I mean, I know Chris Schultz talked about so many guys are displaced, but they still have Jonathan Hefney. They still have Javon Johnson, 2 All-Stars. They still have the man who's leading the league in sacks, and Brian Turner. They still have a great Winnipeg fan base who's going to get it done. Guys, I'm cheering for it. I'm going to say it on there. I'm cheering for my Bombers today. Will they win? I don't know, but I'm cheering for them. Let's go, Bombers. Let's go.
Is it too late to get this man a helmet and a jersey?
He's supposed to be a part
Get him out to Winnipeg. We love your passion, Milt. Hey, the Bombers are playing their 60th home opener tonight, looking for their first win of the season.
Thank you, Jock. Not the start Winnipeg wanted or the location for the home opener, but the 0-4 Bombers get their first taste of home cooking back at Canada Inns as they entertain the 3-1 Edmonton Eskimos in front of a near and perhaps capacity crowd. Sky cleared late this afternoon. That wind could be a factor for the quarterbacks and the kickers here tonight in Winnipeg. There's Kavis Reed, who suffered his first CFL loss last year as a head coach after an Eskimo 5-0 start, looking for the first Eskimo sweep of the Bombers since 2005.
One guy who could be key in that sweep. He's been a stud over the last couple for the Edmonton Eskimos. Hugh Charles, 375 yards from scrimmage over the last 2 weeks. One of the guys looking to shut him and the rest of that Edmonton offense down. Brian Turner leads the team with 5 sacks, including 2 against Edmonton in week 3.
Paul LaPolice stressed this week to his team, just because it is a home game doesn't mean you're automatically going to win it. And that graphic showed you that last year in a successful season, the Bombers were only 5-4 on home turf. But always a good vibe here, and that should help a team looking for its first win of the year. Justin Pilardi gets set to kick it off. And we are underway with Joe Burnett and Hugh Charles deep. And this is Burnett from inside his 10. on the return, and he gets cracked down by Pierre-Luc Labbé up at the 35-yard line. Here are the starters to watch.
Well, for the Edmonton Eskimos offense, as we mentioned, Hugh Charles has been big, 179 yards of offense last week against BC. Fred Stamps needs to be better. His numbers are way down. Last week, hit kind of a low with a couple of drops. Brian Ramsey draws back into that starting offensive line in place of the injured Simeon Routier.
And our starters to watch, brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. And its 18. Stephen Giles goes to work. Early pressure. And Giles gets away initially. And he'll throw it away wisely, avoiding what would have been about a 15 or 20-yard loss.
Well, if Stephen Giles were a cat, he might have used up all 9 lives on that play. I think he recognized just how lucky he was. Decided, rather than, after avoiding a couple of Bomber defenders, to just get rid of this football rather than trying to keep the play alive.
Alex Hall with early pressure along with Bryant Turner, who we'll talk a lot about tonight. He has been a dominant player at defensive tackle in the CFL in the opening 4 weeks. 2nd and 10. Giles left far side. There's Stamps the catch, but will not have the first down. Brought down by Demond Washington. Looks like a gain of 8 for Stamps, who had some drops, as the guys talked about last week in BC.
And again, looking to Fred Stamps early, but Demond Washington, the first-year Blue Bomber, has been something of a return sensation for them so far. Makes his first start in the secondary. He's in at the field halfback spot, normally occupied by Alex Suber.
So a 2-and-out to start for the Edmonton Eskimos. They only had 2 2-and-outs last week against that vaunted BC Lion defense. Here's Burt Dales. And Washington awaits. Dales kicking into the wind in the opening quarter. Short kick, and on a couple of hops, Washington gets it to the outside, but a flag down as he's tripped up around the 47-yard line, likely to be coming back.
Demond Washington already with 1 return touchdown to his credit in this rookie season. Shows a bit of the burst that allowed him to do that.
Glenn Johnson in charge. And a pair of flags on the play.
Legal block, Winnipeg, number 19. On the tackle, tripping, Edmonton, number 9. It's net, 0 yards. We'll go back to where the ball was caught, and it's first down.
The rare tripping call.
Burke Dale's called on the trip.
It's always kickers that get called for that, by the way.
So Alex Brink gets set to go to work. At the 26, after a lot of discussion about whether he'd get a second consecutive start. Gets it into the hands of Clarence Denmark. And Denmark pulled down by the middle linebacker, J.C. Sherritt.
We'll take a look at some of the men to watch on this Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense. Of course, quarterback Alex Brink. You heard the boys talk about him in studio. League low completion percentage and a horrible 9 for 34 last week against Toronto. Terrence Edwards looks to have a breakout game with some changes in the Eskimo secondary. And Glenn January needs to anchor this offensive line against an Eskimo team that leads the league in sacks.
Looking for better first down production, but already 2nd and long. Brink pulls it down, takes off, and we'll have a first down. Taken down by Mike Court, or Simone Lawrence. But a first down for Alex Brink.
I love the courage of Alex Brink here, going for the first down marker rather than going feet first. That said, I'm a little bit surprised, given what happened to Mr. Brink the last time these two teams met, that he wasn't a little more selective.
Took that Richter scale hit from J.C. Sherritt. Good start, though, for the Bombers, because last week, 2 for 18 on second down conversions. There's Chad Simpson. who had an impressive debut with 15 carries, 91 yards last week against the Argos. And here's that hit on J.C. Sherritt delivered.
And Alex Brink on that one. He just started to get into a slide, and this was one a lot of debate as to whether it was a dirty hit or not. I personally don't feel that it was. Alex Brink was going to slide, but you know, you can't decide you're going to get the first down and then slide. You got to give it up early if you're going to go down.
2nd and 6. Simpson releases. He's got the ball and another first down. Paul LaPolice mentioned yesterday he thinks Simpson's one of the best backs he's had as a receiver.
And Chad Simpson, 1 catch for 31 yards, along with those 91 yards on the ground last week. As we see the Eskimo defense trying to shut him down. Julius Williams looking for his first sack. He's going to need to be big tonight with his bookend. Marcus Howard out with injury. J.C. Sherritt continues his strong play. At halfback, Ronnie Prude makes his first start in place of Weldon Brown at halfback.
The first down for the Bombers. Comes downfield and incomplete. Out of bounds was Chris Matthews working against Rod Williams. Matthews, the leading receiver in the league, despite just 1 catch last week against the Argos for 16 yards.
Yeah, he entered last week leading the league by over 100 yards. So he could afford to have a down week after putting up over 300 yards in the previous 2 games combined.
So 2nd and 10 as Brink tries to extend this drive up at the Bomber 52. Stands in, a crosser. And back in the lineup, there's Corey Watson with the catch. He'll be short of the first down. Good to see Watson, the 3rd-year man, back in the Bomber lineup. First time this season, and he adds that extra weapon and an element of toughness.
Yeah, he really does. Corey Watson's a physical receiver. As we saw last year, particularly down the stretch for this team, an important receiver in a lot of the protection schemes for the Blue Bombers as well when they need that inside receiver to come in to pick up blitzes, etc.
So for the 5th consecutive game, no first possession points for Winnipeg. Mike Renaud, high kick. And there's going to be a first possession point on the boot. A signal for Renaud, a 57-yard blast. Bombers strike first. Well, prior to the game, a pregame ceremony including a moment's silence for Richard Harris, the Bomber assistant coach who passed away suddenly a year ago on this day in the Bombers coaching offices, and I'm not sure any assistant coach has ever made a bigger impact in the Canadian Football League than Richard Harris. An emotional day for Paul LaPolice and for Camus Reed, who was on a coaching staff with Richard Harris. Steven Giles had a slip out of his hand, picks it up, and now it'll be brought down by DeMond Washington. Back at the 30-yard line, Washington dropping Steven Giles on a play that looked a little disorganized for the get-go. It looked like Winnipeg thought there was early movement on that Eskimo offensive line.
And then it with Steven Giles with the pump losing that ball. Looked like he bumped Hugh Charles as he cocked back to throw. And then once Giles tried to run, as you saw the speed of DeMond Washington to track him down in space.
Eskimos had 454 yards of offense the first time they met Winnipeg this year. 2nd and long here. And Giles drops it off into the hands of Hugh Charles with a cutback. And Charles up to the 39, well short of the first down. An 8-yard pickup and a 2nd consecutive 2-and-out for the Eskimos to start.
Hugh Charles had that 76-yard catch and run for a touchdown in the game against Winnipeg in week 3. You see the Esks trying to get him involved as a receiver early again.
So Washington's been busy already. He drops back inside the Bomber 30. Burkdale's averaging 46.6 yards a punt. Short kick for here. And a backspin, and Dales has got a shot at it. He's on it. Near midfield, it's Eskimo football unless another Edmonton Eskimo was within 5 yards.
Well, he'll be fine. They're always going to throw the flags when an Eskimo touches it first, but I think we'll see this waved off because they know it was the kicker.
We had a no yards foul. However, there's no infraction. The kicker, number 9, recovered the football. First down, Edmonton.
So a heads-up play by Burke Dales.
Great way to make everybody forget what a horrible punt you just had.
That punt was so bad, I wondered if it was a called shot. Took out the sandwich and ended up getting the ball right back. 24-yard punt.
We give Burke Dales a hard time, but the fact is that's exactly the reaction you want when the ball comes off your foot the wrong way. No hesitation. He just took off downfield.
The Eskimos stay on the field at the Bomber 53. Here's Charles. And he gets met in the hole and driven back.
Look at this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense. Some of the familiar faces, of course, Bryant Turner at defensive tackle, 2 sacks last time these teams met, 5 on the season. Jonathan Hefney moving up to that strong side linebacker spot. He'll likely see a little bit of Fred Stamps and be important in the run defense. Brady Brown replaces an injured Ian Logan at free safety. Keep an eye on Brown to provide a bit of a physical element back there.
2 for Charles, who had his first 100-yard game last week, 118, second and 8. Big pressure, penalty down. Giles in trouble. And now finds the target. Nick Truhorn with the catch, but you saw the flag in the area of holding in the Eskimo backfield.
Yeah, anytime you see a flag go up when there's that much scrambling happening in the backfield, it's a pretty safe bet what infraction is going to be called.
Holding. Edmonton, number 50. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
Big left tackle, Oren Thompson.
We'll get a good look. Thompson on the back of Alex Hall.
So Alex Hall has looked good early in this game. Had his first sack of the year last week against the Argos.
This team needs to start getting a little bit more out of their defensive ends. It was one of their strengths last season. That's one of the things missing in this 0-4 start.
Second and 18, Truhorn back near the original line of scrimmage where he's met by Johnny Sears. And the Eskimos offense still looking for its initial first down.
Well, Stephen Giles heads to the sideline to consult with Kerry Joseph, backup quarterback, and offensive coordinator Marcus Crandall. A lot of talk in Edmonton over the course of this week about getting to that quick game a little more, the quick passing game, rather than trying to rely on the deep ball.
Javon Johnson back this time. Better boot by Dales. Johnson back at his 12. And he gets met there and brought down quickly, leading the way. Mike Millard. Alex Brink and the Bomber offense will start at their own 17-yard line. They have been a slow-starting team this year in the opening quarter. That includes the 1 point tonight. Fewest points in the first quarter, most points allowed. Brink over the middle and catch is made. Raza Munoz is there defensively. And they wrestle down the target. Corey Watson, who will make those catches in traffic.
The Bombers weren't sure just how much we'd see Corey Watson on offense here tonight as he plays his first game of 2012. He was injured coming out of training camp. He's made a contribution here in the first couple of Blue Bomber possessions.
What a sophomore year, 86 catches, 1,070 yards for Corey Watson. Got 5, so second and 5. Out of the backfield is Simpson. Brink looks the other way, and he's got Terrence Edwards. Dumped by J.C. Sherritt. Should be close to a first down. And Glenn Johnson gives the signal, and the chains will move.
Well, the Bombers offensively, they're just flooded all the receivers right around that first down marker.
Terrence Edwards missed some practice time this week, was injured in Toronto, did not register a catch. But got 1 day of work in this week and back in. Here's Simpson on the sweep. He gets stacked up and pushed back. J.C. Sherritt involved again. The leading tackler in the Canadian Football League with 31 coming in.
And Sherritt and the Eskimo linebacking core do a nice job here. The play is well blocked. You get a great block on the edge from the fullback, Michel Pierre-Pomprion. Then watch the lineman come around the edge. You've got Steve Morley and the center, Justin Sorensen, getting around there. But Damaso Munoz, J.C. Sherritt shake off the blocks and step up to make a play.
Number 5 gets 5, but now he is hobbling to the sidelines. Cramped up near the end of last week. So Nathan Riva will come in. 2nd and 5. Brink to the wide side, and the catch is made there again by Watson. He's been a go-to guy already, his 3rd catch, and it's another Bomber first down.
Corey Watson quickly making up for those 4 lost games at the start of the season. Watson starts off, he's the furthest to the right of those receivers, and it's just a quick flat and sit as you see the defender Joe Burnett, wide side corner, drops off into zone coverage. Watson recognizes it, stays in space.
So 1st and 10, and here is Riva. And Riva upended again, Sherritt there, and I'll say it right away, the University of Western Ontario product into the game for Chad Simpson.
Well, there you go, Nathan Riva, undrafted this year, part of the class of 2012. 2nd fastest 40 time at the CFL's evaluation camp this year, behind only Shamad Chambers.
Couple for Riva on his 3rd carry in the CFL. 2nd and 8. Look over the middle. Watson again. A first down conversion. Donovan Alexander makes the tackle. And Alex Brink's been on his game early.
Well, maybe you just missed Corey Watson. The Concordia product doing a great job catching the football. And it always helps, Chris, when your offensive line does this. Nice job picking things up at the line of scrimmage. Good job by the backs to recognize that if the linebackers aren't coming, you got to get out of there.
15 for Watson. Here comes pressure. Brink steps up, and down he goes. Dropped by Ted Laurent, who's off to a tremendous start this year. Laurent chalking up his 4th sack and now in 4 consecutive games with a sack.
Yeah, Ted Laurent, a bit of a feeding frenzy. You said it, Chris. 4 sacks already this season. He had only 1 all of last year as a CFL rookie.
13 sacks on the year for the Eskimos. And a lot of them coming in from the inside guys. Same story in Winnipeg. Screen play. Simpson back in. Fumbles the football. Who's got it? Edmonton Eskimos have the ball as Simpson limps to the sidelines. It's a takeaway by that defense as Simone Lawrence comes up with the football for Edmonton. Take a break. Edmonton football.
Oh, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, you wonder why this team is 0-4 as compared to their great start last season. It's that turnover ratio, the most telling stat in football. Last year, +9 after 4 games in terms of the takeaway giveaway. This year, a league worst -5 entering week 5.
And now -6. J.C. Sherritt the hit. Eskimos get the football. 25 points on turnovers the first meeting against Winnipeg. Handoff up the middle, and Hugh Charles scrambles for a first down. Boy, he's been tremendous the last 2 weeks. 118 yards rushing last week. And 196 yards from scrimmage against the Bombers a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, a lot of that came in terms of receiving yardage. 375 yards from scrimmage in his last 2 games for Hugh Charles. taking over at that running back spot from the departed Jerome Messam.
The initial first down of the game for Edmonton, back into the hands of Charles. And he gets brought down behind the line of scrimmage. Another big play by Brian Turner.
But it's that entire defensive line, the combination, Brian Turner, Jason Vega as well, in on that play. Slowing him up. There's Brian Turner, big number 92 on the inside. Jason Vega right beside him. Vega with a nice swim move to split the block. Slow up the running back for his partner in crime, Brian Turner.
That's a loss of 3. Second and 13. And this time, moving on that defensive line. Let's find out if they were drawn.
Brian Turner just exploded out of that stance.
Offside. Winnipeg number 92. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
That time too fast. We're being told by people around the league this guy is the real deal and maybe the most dominant defensive tackle right now.
Yeah, he sure is. And what Brian Turner brings to the table is terrific quickness and agility. It's not what you expect from a guy on the inside, really a guy who has more of a skill set of an end, but is stout enough to play inside at tackle. He creates a mismatch for a lot of guards.
And now second and 8. Guys out of the shotgun, downfield, and overshoots the intended target, Nate Kuhorn. On the final play of the opening quarter. And just a single point to show so far. Our first quarter stats brought to you by Rona, proud partner of the Canadian Football League and its 8 teams.
The stats don't really jump out at you, particularly from a Winnipeg perspective in terms of being overly impressive. But what is key here for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, a team that has been badly outscored in first quarters, may only be 1-0, but they're winning, and that's a small victory right now at 0-4.
Well, it was 35-0 at the half the last time they played, but they actually moved the football a little bit. Chad Simpson stopping the last drive with his fumble. But Corey Watson's been a key addition so far.
And you had a bit of a sense that for this team, that as they started getting some bodies back, they'd start looking a little bit more like the team that went 10-8 last season.
That game a couple of weeks ago was 10-0 after the opening quarter. Paul Lapalisse, after the game, said we're beaten in all 3 phases badly. A better start so far here tonight. Damon Washington awaiting the punt from Burke Dales to start the second quarter. And Dales will have the wind at his back for the first time. Has to take something off it. Washington still lets it bounce in. And this game will be tied.
As Alex Brink prepares to take to the field, he had to wonder a little bit if his bad luck from last week, that 9 of 34 performance against Toronto, was going to continue. This is Alex Brink prior to the warm-up out throwing, ends up colliding pretty harshly with one of the Blue Bomber ball boys out there.
Wasn't rehearsing for a little contact with J.C. Sherritt?
I don't think anything gets you ready for contact with the likes of J.C. Sherritt. Maybe running into trucks, not ball boys.
Well, this is his second look at this Edmonton Eskimo defense in a short period of time. He looks a little more comfortable so far. Looking for Quito Pobla is incomplete.
A tight window there as Brink tried to thread the needle, but Rod Williams with terrific coverage on Pobla over on that boundary side.
Like to get Pobla a little more active. Did have 5 catches against the Eskimos in the opening meeting. Second and 10. Brink has that one batted into the air, and it falls incomplete. There's Sean Lemon off the edge to get his hands on that. And Kivas Reed told us yesterday he thought Lemon would be a guy to watch on the defensive line here tonight for Edmonton.
Well, Sean Lemon spent a little bit of time last season with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. There he comes on the twist to the inside. He's getting an opportunity to play this week with Marcus Howard banged up.
Mike Renaud, line drive boot, good one into the wind, and Joe Burnett comes across, fumbles the football, and are the Bombers on it, or did the Eskimos get it back? And Edmonton does retain possession of the football. Kerry Cope at the bottom of the pile saves it for Burnett.
There's Javon Johnson, the reigning CFL Defensive Player of the Year, a guy well known as a returner on special teams. But watch the left side of your screen. Javon Johnson's the guy with the big hit to cause that fumble by the Eskimo returner.
Took some heat after the last game between these two.
A very brief celebration after a late interception, but quickly apologized post-game for that.
Dallas swings it out, and here's Stamps in the backfield. Trying to turn it up. Steps out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Kivas Reed spoke with Stamps after last week's drop-field game and didn't coddle him, said we need more from our star player. And Stamps, the hardest critic of himself,
Yeah, absolutely.
determined to be better.
Yeah, and he knows he's got to be better. And it seems like every week the Eskimos come in trying to get the ball in Fred Stamps' hands one way or another early in the game. But as the game goes on, he seems to get forgotten a little bit.
Wow, as good as he can ever take him down. Huge pressure off the edge. Alex Hall once again. He's had a big first half. And it's another 2-0.
Well, Alex Hall is one of the guys who has to continue to grow coming from the top of the screen. Protection scheme slid to the right. Left Hall unblocked on the backside. He delivers a big hit on the Eskimo quarterback.
Third 2-0 would be the fourth had it not been for the fact Brooke Dales recovered his own punt in that opening quarter. So Dales back to kick here. Stout Bomber defense so far. High blast by Dales. Settling in at the 25, and here's Washington trying to get outside. Might have the corner, and then flipped up. Flipped up and was even down yet. Damon Washington could have got up.
Damon Washington thought he was still back in the NCAA, where once anything other than your hands or feet touch, you're down.
And Paul Appolice in his ear.
And Brady Brown was the first one barking at him, special teams captain. Brown, number 25, gets a terrific block here, does a nice job to make sure he gets the front corner of his guy right beside the ball. Good block by Brown. Washington blows a tire.
Look how much room he had up the sidelines. Wow. Simpson back in. Tries the left side and dropped at the 35-yard line. Couple for him, but Damon Washington might still be running.
He could be. He could be. Lots of room. It's a live and learn. We talk about it all the time, particularly for young guys coming up here from the States to play for the first time. Some of the different rules to which they have to adjust.
Already an 82-yard punt return touchdown for Washington this year. Burke stands in and then throws incomplete. Not sure if that was intended for Denmark, but a straight pass. Unfortunate. No Eskimo could get his hand on it.
Yeah, it sort of sailed right in between Clarence Denmark and Kito Pobla, but I do believe it was intended for the inside man, Denmark.
So we're in for a defensive struggle, Mr. Ford.
Is that the politically correct way of saying the offenses aren't doing much?
No, they are spinning their tires. Second consecutive 2-and-out for the Bombers here. Burnett back, and here's Renault. A line drive boot that gets a bounce. Burnett gets the 5-yard no yards, and again Javon Johnson down in a hurry. Check that, Dustin Doe on the tackle. 4 off the pace. Which offense gets it going first? Stephen Giles starts at the 41. Play action with Charles, went deep. And now underneath, he's got Kuhorn wide open. And Nate Kuhorn down to the Bomber 40-yard line. The former Calgary Dino with a big play, and he's got 29.
And the Eskimos were very determined to try and get the ball deep here. As you see, they're in a double tight formation. 7 men stay in the protection as they slide to the right. And you just see a cluster over to the right side here where Stephen Giles is rolling. They ball up the bodies to maximize that protection. Good coverage downfield, forces them to go underneath the Kuhorn.
First down at the Bomber 40 into the hands of Charles. A stutter step, and Enoch Mwamba will corral him and limit it to a 3-yard pickup.
Enoch Mwamba from Mississauga, Ontario, first overall pick in the 2011 draft out of St. FX. Getting a lot of reps in this defense. Pierre-Luc Labbé, the starter, but Mwamba also in the mix, playing several snaps every game.
5 Bombers who started week 1 on defense on the injury list. Second down, Giles guns it deep, looking for Stamps. Made the catch, but did not get a foot down. Incomplete.
It happened anytime over the last couple of years. Somehow Fred Stamps would have kept a foot in, but this is just the way his 2012 is going.
Take another look. It was close. At least it appeared to be, but
watch that left footle touchdown on the line.
With Johnny Sears in the trail position. Davis Reed with a hand close to the challenge flag, but gets the word from upstairs that indeed Fred Stamps was out. Here's Grant Shaw. We'll try a 45-yarder, but a man onside. Shaw boots it and puts it through. So Grant Shaw now 11 for 13 on the year, and that his longest of the season. A 45-yarder, now 4 for 5 from outside the 40. He's done a nice job in that department. 4-1 Eskimos as we join Sarah Orleski.
Well, Chris, I think you mentioned earlier, Buck Pierce is down here on the sidelines. He told me he wanted to be down here, support Alex Brink, but he's not speaking too much with Alex. He said that there times can be too many cooks in the kitchen, and he doesn't want to interfere with his routine, but he has told him that he thinks he's making good reads, and he's seeing the field well. What he is doing, though, is spending a lot of time with the receivers, particularly the young guys. I saw him sitting beside Chad Matthews, talking with him, trying to give him some advice as to what he's seeing right now. Pierce did say it is incredibly difficult, though, to be on the sidelines right now, particularly for this home opener.
Brink tried to thread the needle there for Terrence Edwards, and Damaso Munoz was on his back. The plan yesterday was for Buck Pierce to be upstairs, but that plan has changed.
And I think for exactly the reason that Sarah alluded to, Alex Brink is a quarterback, and every one of them has their own routine, their own mindset. On game day, Alex Brink is kind of a guy who likes to get into his own space a little bit on the sidelines. So Buck Pierce trying to respect that.
2nd and 10. Simpson releases, and that Brink rolling. It was open, and now he takes it and will be close to the first down. Didn't look like he wanted to take off. And that is sprint away for close to a first down.
Well, everybody here at Canadians seemed to be yelling for Alex Brink to take off with the football. The fullback, Michel Pierre-Pomprion, was the man in the flat in front of him and seemed a little hesitant himself as to whether to turn and block or whether to keep looking for the ball.
And Chris Thompson up there to make the tackle, and the indication from Brink was that he's short and they want the jumbo team to come out. And Brink knew he had to get all the way to the 45 to move the chains, so it will be 3rd down.
And probably close enough that you'll see the Bomber offense stay on the field here and go for it. Always that balance between field position and time, score, etc., deciding whether you're going to go. But out here, getting close to midfield in a game where you're trying to get your offense in a little bit of a groove. You want to keep them on the field here.
So third down, and you see where they have to get to. Has to break the plane to the 45-yard line, and Brink straight ahead. Should have it. Not by a whole lot. The flag comes down, and J.C. Sherritt again in that pile.
I would anticipate that the flags will be offside against Edmonton.
Offside, Edmonton's defensive line. 5-yard penalty, first down.
So the 6th first down for the Winnipeg offense. Up near the 50-yard line with about 8.5 minutes to go here in a defensive first half. Because Brink just gets it away, and this is intercepted. The Edmonton Eskimos have the football, picked off by Ronnie Prude, his first CFL interception, the man replacing Weldon Brown.
Well, Ronnie Prude got himself a little bit of a gift there. It results from the pressure coming on quarterback Alex Brink. Edmonton Eskimos leading the Canadian Football League in sacks coming into week 5, and Sean Lemon right in the face of Brink as he launches this football. The result is not his best throw. Hangs up there and allows Prude to come underneath.
So the second turnover of the game by the Bombers. 7 turnovers the last time they met. And the Eskimos cashed for 25 points in that one. Off the 7 turnovers. Giles unloading deep. And overthrows the intended target. Shamad Chambers wearing number 17. The rookie has switched from 88 to number 17, paying tribute to his late brother Jonathan.
Yeah, his older brother Jonathan, born March 1st, 1985. He died March 7th, 2007. So the 1 date of birth, the 7 date of death, making up that number 17.
Second and 10. Pressure coming. Giles just got it away. Incomplete. Trying to hit Kerry Koch, and Stephen Giles got rocked.
Well, we've seen Alex Hall over the course of the last 2 weeks really start to emerge as a force on that defensive line. You see how high the hips are here as Alex Hall gets low in that sprinter stance. Anytime it's second down passing situation. Terrific spin move there on the tackle. Thompson to come back. Big hit on Giles just as the ball was released.
So again, Dales with the wind at his back. Another booming punt. Fielded inside the 5. And Washington met by Simone Lawrence. After a 5-yard return, it remains 4-1 Eskimos.
Well, there you see Mike Renaud. His primary job is to punt the football. But with that comes a certain amount of knowledge of what the winds are here and what the range of the opposition punter is going to be, as you see him helping out DeMond Washington as far as where the Winnipeg returner should line up to field the ball from Burke Dales.
I wondered if DeMond Washington might have been better served to let that one go in for an extra point. Instead, it's a deep start for the Bombers. And a good run here by Chad Simpson, which makes the decision by Washington a lot better.
Yeah, Chad Simpson bailed out his buddy here, but Simpson had a little bit of help on this play himself. And this is what I'm talking about with the return of Corey Watson to the Winnipeg Blue Bomber lineup. Had a big block here. Receiver's going to come across. We saw this a lot last year. In motion, this is a slot back. His job is to take on the defensive end. He does a great job taking Sean Lemon out to keep that run lane wide, preventing the end from collapsing. Big part of Watson's game.
15-yard run for Simpson. They give him the ball again, and he rips through a tackle and has another first down. I mentioned 91 yards last week. He also had a 30-yard run called back on an offside. He made a good first impression, and 15 and 11 on the last 2 carries.
Well, Chad Simpson, much like the man he replaces, has proven to be very strong on his feet. You see J.C. Sherritt doesn't get him down on contact, but is just hanging on like a rodeo cowboy.
Now Brent looks for Matthews, can't hold on. Rod Williams on his back. Haven't been able to make the connection to the leading receiver yet.
Chris Matthews had that torrid pace through weeks 2 and 3.
And second downs have really been an issue for the Bombers. Struggling mightily last week. Let's see if they get a conversion. And that one is intercepted. Donovan Alexander, the safety, comes up with that again. Eskimo pressure, forcing a turnover. It's the third of this opening half, forced by the Eskimo defense.
Well, the Eskimos send pressure from the secondary here, and the guy that they put in the quandary is the left tackle, Glenn January. January makes the right read here. He's going to block down to the inside on the defensive end, but the Eskimos are going to send the halfback. That leaves him free from the outside. Now, Alex Brink has got to recognize this and get the football out of there. Ronnie Prude gets there in time, following up his interception with a big hit on the Bomber quarterback.
So Prude with an interception and a forced interception, and the Winnipeg native Donovan Alexander gives the Eskimos a first down in Bomber territory. Fred Stamps takes a heavy hit as he gets blasted by Johnny Sears.
A great football play on both sides. The concentration of Freddie Stamps to hang on to this ball. And the timing of Johnny Sears with the hit.
And Giles and Sears in the same storyline. When he suggested, Stephen Giles did, that Johnny Sears was a dirty player. He was suspended for a game last year on a hit against Stephen Giles. This year Giles made the comment and then this week apologized for it.
Yeah, suggested that Johnny Sears is just playing hard. And it's what they're all here to do, so we wouldn't want Sears to play it any other way. So nice to see those guys put that in the rearview mirror.
Second and 1, and Hugh Charles has the first down and more. Bumped out at the 25-yard line. And Javon Johnson and Charles exchange words.
Another great collision there as Hugh Charles drops a shoulder and pops the lid off Javon Johnson. That's not going to silence number 2.
Dustin Doe to the sidelines for the Bombers. Pierre-Luc Labbé checks back in. 10-yard run for Charles, a first down for the Eskimos. Giles sets up, looks deep, has an open man. Touchdown, Kerry Cope, who scored a touchdown against the Bombers at Commonwealth Stadium. He's got another, a 25-yard touchdown strike.
Great ball there from Stephen Giles. Clearly a bust on the back end as Kerry Coke was wide open in the end zone. Coke lines up as number 2. You're going to see both defenders end up chasing the outside route here, which is going to leave Kerry Coke wide open right down the hash marks.
So the second touchdown pass of the season for Giles, both into the hands of Coke. Shaw adds the extra point, and it's 7 off the latest Winnipeg Blue Bomber turnover. And a 10-point Edmonton Eskimo lead.
What's up? We here? We here. What's up? It just got started. It just got started.
Just one catch last week for 5 yards against the Lions. but another touchdown catch against the Bombers.
I'll tell you, Chris, Fred Stamps may not be putting up big numbers, but here he's the guy running that out route who's ultimately going to help Kerry Coke get open. He runs that out. You'll see that's where the two defenders bite to. You'll see these two guys, both are going to flow to that out to Fred Stamps. They pass up Kerry Coke down the seam. Good read by Giles. Good job in the pattern by both Stamps and Coke to make it happen.
So the first major of the game, and the visitors take the lead. Last year here, Kivas Reed suffered his first loss. They were up 13-0 in that game. Buck Pierce took off on a run, and Damaso Munoz missed a tackle. The Bombers end up scoring and turn the momentum. No Winnipeg momentum so far in this one, though, as the Eskimos have this double-digit lead. Devon Washington angled out near the 25-yard line. A late flag on the play in front of the Bomber bench. And the indication, the penalty against Winnipeg. Well, Alex Brink got off to a decent start, seemed to be moving the football, but 2 interceptions now in the second quarter.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg number 95. We'll go back half the distance to the goal, first down.
Well, with the offense struggling, you can't afford to take these sort of discipline penalties, dead ball type fouls. There's the late block.
Jake Thomas, the Acadia product.
On Mike Miller, the Acadia product.
Alex Brink 0 for his last 7 with those 2 interceptions. Finds Keto Publa. There's a first down and maybe more. Publa still going. Up to the 48-yard line. Had a talk with the coach yesterday. Wants to be more involved, and La Police told him to stay with it.
Well, if he keeps making plays like that, they won't be able to help but keep him involved.
42-yard gain at the 3-minute warning. Huge crowd here for the home opener. The fans still believe. Big play by the Bombers there. 42-yarder from Brink to Publa. You wonder if this is the series, this is the drive that's going to decide for Paul LaPolice whether it's Alex Brink or Joey Elliott in the second half.
Yeah, it's make or break time for Alex Brink. You know, the leash is going to be shorter this week than it was a week ago in his first start.
Takes to Simpson, looks downfield, turns inwards, and he gets drilled but holds on. At the Eskimo 44, Sherritt make him pay, but the veteran makes the catch in an 18-yard pickup.
I love the commitment here from Terrence Edwards, because he absolutely knows, beautiful route on Ronnie Prude, but he absolutely knows that J.C. Sherritt is coming, but no fear to go up and get that football in the air.
Well, they move it 60 yards in 2 plays, more pressure, dumped off over the middle, and there's Corey Watson, brought down by Chris Thompson. And after some early success to Watson, Alex Brink hadn't looked his way in a while.
No, going back to what made him successful, and that's what he needs to do. The other thing I thought Alex Brink did well on that football was with blitz coming. Unlike his interception previously, got rid of the ball quickly with a free man coming on the blitz. Better recognition.
Watson for 4, 2nd and 6. 6 men go out. And Brink steps up, and he'll take off, and he'll get a first down. And gets a few extra before he ducks out. And that ignites the fans.
Well, the Bombers suddenly on this series have life. Great run there from Alex Brink, but I think a lot of this honestly goes back to the Keita Poglu catch and a terrific effort type play from the Blue Bomber receiver that seemed to perk up the entire bench and huddle, Chris.
42 to Pavlik, 18 for Edwards, and now a 17-yard run for Brink. And it's a first down at the Eskimo 23. Here they come. Brink over the top, incomplete. Clarence Denmark, the intended target, but well covered by Ronnie Brood.
It looked like to me as if Alex Brink was locked in on where he was going to go with the football on that play. He might have had a shot in the flat to Corey Watson, but Brink really wanted the home run ball there.
Can they extend this impressive drive? 2nd and 10. Pass inside and cut down on the play is Denmark, short of the first down.
Yeah. Every time I watch the Edmonton Eskimos defense play, I can't help but wonder, is there really only one guy wearing number 47?
He is everywhere.
JC Sherritt is all over the field.
Western Rookie of the Year last year. Hurting a bit after that last tackle as he tries to shake off a nick to the left shoulder.
This Eskimo team has been hit hard by the injury bug over the last couple of weeks as well.
These might be the two most injured teams. Pilardi from 26 yards out is good. He's 11 for 12 on the season. As the Bombers get within 7 here with under 2 minutes left in the opening half. Then it's GMC Live at the half. We'll check in with Jock Climbing, Matt Dunnigan for Schultz. And Milton, I used to play for Winnipeg Stegall.
Well, I want to see if Milt has broken out the blue and gold pom-poms by halftime. He's going all out tonight.
Well, some food for thought for Paul LaPolice on that drive by Alex Brink. If he was wondering about making a change at the half, is that enough to make him not think about it?
Yeah, well, it may buy him a couple of series, but at some point you got to get more points on the board. Clearly, but a great sign there for Alex Brink and the rest of the Blue Bomber offense.
The Eskimos have a late first half response. Stephen Giles over the middle for Stamps, incomplete. Looked like he had a window of opportunity with Fred Stamps.
I suspect as they have been for much of the season, Fred Stamps and Stephen Giles weren't on the same page. Watch for the receiver coming right to left. Stamps looked like he wanted to turn it more up the field, make it a little bit more vertical while he was in that window, as he felt like he was running into the coverage of another defender if he continued across.
Well, this is what you get with home field. That's making noise. Coolhorn makes the catch, and a clutch one. Should be a first down.
Well, Coolhorn, number 5 overall pick in the 2011 draft out of University of Calgary. Nailed down starting spot on that wide side.
3-time Can West All-Star, has his 3rd catch of the game. 12th of the season. Just 2 last year in 10 games. First down to Mount Charles for the flag down. He ran into a wall. Short gain for Charles. Let's check the flag.
Offside. Winnipeg number 91. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
Newcomer JT Gilmore, defensive tackle. Late cut of the Vikings last year. He'll come off.
Well, Gilmore getting a chance to get on this Blue Bomber roster with the injury suffered last week by Brandon Collier. Toronto game.
And 1st and 5. Back to Charles. And at the 54, he's got 4. Hugh Charles has had 375 yards from scrimmage in the last 2 games.
Yeah, Hugh Charles getting his first real opportunity to be the go-to guy. He kind of waited around as seemingly the heir apparent and occasional injury replacement for Wes Cates in Saskatchewan over a couple of years. Came over to Edmonton in a late season trade last year. Was making the most of the opportunity with Jerome Messam out of that backfield this season.
Second and a yard, back to Charles, and has the first down. An understudy to Wes Keats, who he mentioned yesterday was a big influence in his adjustment to the CFL game. And as you mentioned, backing up Messam, and you can tell the Eskimos really dialed up Hugh Charles in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they really have, and he's responded anytime you see the big numbers like that. 196 yards in week 3, 179 in week 4. And usually there are a couple of big plays in there, and that's an element that Hugh Charles offers.
8 touches so far in this game. Here comes out tall. Giles gets it away, and Charles has it down the sidelines. His biggest play of this opening half. And a late hit on Stephen Giles, flagged down in the Eskimos' backfield. 26-yard play from Giles to Charles.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Winnipeg, number 92. Will go up half the distance to the goal from the end of the play. First down.
So Brian Turner hit with the major foul.
Well, the Bombers, after a good offensive drive, now suddenly hand all the momentum right back to the Edmonton Eskimos, who are instantly in scoring position.
Well, the offside helped extend the drive. This one now puts it down at the 13-yard line. Great response for Giles after the field goal drive by Brink and the Bombers. First and 10. Giles looks to the corner. Stamps. Incomplete. Broken up by Johnny Sears.
Well, Johnny Sears, a big part of the reason for some of the changes in this Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense, as he moves to that boundary halfback spot, because the Bombers felt very comfortable in allowing him to match up with the likes of Fred Stamps and many of the league's other top slot backs. That enabled them to move Jonathan Hefney, a strong run support player, up to the Sam linebacker spot. The Bombers end up releasing Clint Kent, who had been a real stalwart for them over the course of the last couple of years.
Scampering off JT Gilmore. Second and 10. Giles looks to the corner, open man, and overshoots Chambers. Wide open at the 1. A missed opportunity there for Stephen Giles.
And a missed opportunity for Stephen Giles and Fred Stamps to break their slump. Watch number 2 for the Eskimos here. A great move on Johnny Sears. He is wide open in the end zone, but Giles is looking to the outside route.
So Kevis Reed sees the drive stall, 21 seconds left. And out comes Grant Shaw from the 21. And the Eskimo lead is 10 once again. There is a flag down, however. And a scrum ensuing, and it has, will remind you of what happened the last time. They hit an old-fashioned hockey line brawl on the gridiron.
That's right. The scrums make you a little nervous. Some ejections from that ball game, both Eskimo defensive ends and Winnipeg tackle Glenn January. So we'll have a look at the ill will. January and Marcus Howard in the middle of things.
No rematch of Howard January here, with Marcus Howard out of the lineup for the Eskimos tonight. And the options being explained to Paul Lapalisse.
Procedure, illegal formation, Edmonton. 5-yard penalty, repeat, third down.
So Grant Shaw is going to have to kick it again from the 26 after an alignment issue on the Eskimo special teams. And the head coach, animated as always on the sidelines.
It looked like he was having a word with his O-line coach, Tim Princeton, over on the sidelines there.
So Shaw with the reboot from 25 out. Matt Nichols, the holder. And no damage done. They put it through once again. And it is a 10-point lead. And again, tempers starting to flare here. Jonathan Hefney, Brian Turner seem to be in the midst of it from a Bomber viewpoint.
Well, clearly a lot of pressure on these Winnipeg Blue Bombers to get things turned around.
And now a flag has just been dropped, and this came well after the field goal as the chirping continued.
Objectionable conduct, Edmonton. It's a 10-yard penalty.
Didn't get a number. And Hefney with a shot on Grant Shaw. He gets out of there, and maybe one of the Eskimos was a little too vocal about no call on Hefney. 16 seconds left. How does Brink handle it? Puts it over the middle. It's got Corey Watson. And just like that, as they try to hold him up, they get perhaps in field goal range. It would be against the wind, a 47-yarder. They're going to have to take one more shot.
Timeout. Winnipeg.
Timeout call. What do you do, Coach?
Yeah, time-wise, you take one more play.
Sideline pass to get it a little closer for Pilardi. Pilardi's hit from 46 this season. This would be from at least 47, but also into the wind. So Brink trying to get it a little bit closer than that. Gotta be quick. Runs out of time, so he'll shoot long for Matthews. Jabell and flag. Does he have this? Chris Matthews. What a way to end the half.
Everything was wrong with that play from a Winnipeg Blue Bomber perspective except the ending.
Why take 3 when you can get 7?
Well, Chris Matthews bails out Alex Brink big time here. Matthews might have been open early, but by the time this ball was thrown, he sure wasn't. But the guy who made this team on the strength of his ability to make plays like that
By the command center.
does it again. What an effort by number 13.
Scoring play is under review, as they all are.
Edmonton. That penalty's declined. Touchdown.
And it is a touchdown. Ronnie Prude clearly interfering, but Matthews makes the play anyway. His 4th touchdown catch of the year. A 40-yard touchdown with no time on the clock. And just like that, it's a 3-point game at the half. And the Bombers scored 10 points on their last 2 possessions. 14-11, halftime in Winnipeg.
Well, I think Kerry Koch is going to be Giles' new favorite receiver. That's his 2nd touchdown pass of the season, both to Koch and both against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They are developing a little chemistry, which is important for a team that's struggling offensively.
It's called run down the field, untouched, and I'll throw you the football.
Matthew, it's like that's easy to do or something.
Unreal.
Well, for that offense, it's not so easy. Chris, Matt, Milton, Jock, and in a game that we expected not to be particularly high scoring, and an offensive explosion there late in the first half, which was great to see. But you know, we hyped this game. Milton in particular, who was the full-on blue and gold going. But we hyped this game because sometimes it's fun to watch defense. And actually the Bombers, who are ranked last or second last in most categories, have risen to the occasion, Chris, so far.
Hey, Jock, well, I think that's the only reason they're in this game. And to be specific, their sudden change defense has been outstanding. Going into this game, they allowed 56 points in total every time there was a turnover, which means anytime you get the ball from the offense, you are going to score on the Bombers. But here's the first example. Birkdale's, this is a really, really good job of not feeling sorry for yourself. The minute you punt the ball, you understand you messed up. So what do? You get in that nice little athletic sprint. You take after the football. Now, here's the key. There were no points allowed by the Winnipeg defense. Sudden change opportunity. Example number 2, very good running back, Chad Simpson. You got to hold on to the football. Watch, the football is going to come out. This is a pure turnover. Then the Winnipeg defense had to go back on the football field, and they only got 1 point out of this. And here, let's give Alex Brink a little bit of a break here. That is a very poor shotgun snap. He sets up, he throws the interception. That's turnover number 3 on the game, and they got no points off of that. But the fourth one, they did get the touchdown. Defensively, Winnipeg's sudden change defense, to be specific, Milt, outstanding.
Yeah, they're doing very well. And they're doing 2 things that I didn't see them do in their first 4 games. One, they're getting pressure off the edge, in particular, Alex Hall. He's not going to show up on your stat sheet, but he's really pressuring Steven Giles. Second thing they're doing, they're rallying to the ball. And playing well on defense is all about wanting to play well, and that's what these Winnipeg Blue Bombers are doing. They knew coming into this game their offense was going to struggle, so they had to get the momentum for their team. Right now, they've got some good momentum going for 2 reasons. They're playing well, and now their offense is picking it up. Now they're coming into the second half. They'll have a little lull. Let's see if they can come back and can produce what they did in the first half, Matt.
This is a fight. We saw some scenes from the first time these 2 teams played, and this is a fight. When Edmonton's coming to Winnipeg's backyard and said, we're about to do this to you again. Can you rise up and face us, right? And give us the intensity that we're going to give you. Well, so far, it's been blow to blow. And, you know, it's been defense, and a lot of big hitting. Exactly what I expected, you know, and offense is waking up. And it's the first man who blinks as far as I'm concerned. And what you saw there, the last play of the first half, Alex Brink to Matthews, is what they were trying to do against Toronto last week in man-to-man coverages, except when right there, you saw the Edmonton Eskimos give him zone coverage. He runs scot-free through there. Nobody touches him, makes an easy catch.
Well, when you are dead last in the league in points offensively, maybe you need a new wrinkle in the offensive playbook. And it appeals to Hail Mary might just be their go-to play now. First down, second down. I mean, when you got a guy like Chris Matthews, maybe you ought to do this more often. That is an outstanding catch.
Yes, it is.
But you have a job to do first, and that's to do the halftime stats. Go.
Yeah, thanks, Jock. This right here, 3 turnovers. Winnipeg's lucky to be in a ball game, but I want to hear the boys at the park talk about this stat right here. 10 points into the win by the Bombers. I didn't hear much about that. Is that truly playing a factor in this ball game?
Back in Winnipeg, we're headed to the second half. The Eskimos with a 3-point lead, and Sarah Orlesky on the sidelines with Paul LaPolice.
Paul, after the offense struggled through much of the first half on those final 2 possessions, 10 points, what was it that changed?
Well, you know, we made a couple big plays, and, you know, certainly you got 2 good defenses playing, and but we hit two big throws to get us in a position, and the penalty was really big for us to get the ball into the 45.
Are you confident with the way that Brink is playing and the way that he developed as that half went on?
Yeah, you know, the interceptions were, you know, the ball was tipped as he's throwing the ball, so he hasn't made a bad decision that way, so he's got to keep going and keep leading us to a win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it got interesting in the late stages of the first half. Alex Brink and the Bombers put up 145 yards of offense and 10 points in their final 2 series.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, as Paul LaPolice touched on, was just the fact that some people made plays. The most obvious, of course, the touchdown catch by Chris Matthews in the end zone, a diving catch with a defender draped all over him, no time on the clock. We talked about the Keto Pobla catch and run on the sidelines that seemed to spark the previous drive that resulted in a field goal. So from a Winnipeg Blue Bomber perspective, you hope that these guys have been inspired a little bit and that they'll just continue to make plays for their quarterback, Alex Brink.
Well, the old Bomber quarterback, Matt Dunnigan, asking about the wind. It seemed to be subsiding as the second quarter wore on. And with the arm terms of Stephen Giles and Alex Brink, maybe not that big a factor as the last 10 points scored against the Breeze.
Yeah, I think we might have seen a couple of balls hang up a little bit, but not as much of a factor as it was earlier.
Line drive kickoff to Joe Burnett to start the second half. And here comes Burnett up to the 35-yard line before he gets taken down, and Stephen Giles gets set to go back to work.
Well, Stephen Giles, kind of numbers that have kind of been in line with the way his season has gone. Nothing spectacular in terms of completion percentage or yardage. Solid, steady. Most important number for Stephen Giles, though, really, taking care of the football. No interceptions.
Have we seen as much of the deliberate short game that we saw from Giles and the Eskimos offense in BC?
Well, I'll tell you, Chris, it seemed like we saw it early, but there were definitely some times where they were determined to push the ball deep.
Starting at the 35. There's a pitch inside. And the first for Doc.
Collins, the former BC Lion. The starting lineup over the last few weeks as the Bombers have had some injuries in that receiving core, much like, excuse me, the Eskimos have some injuries in that receiving core, much like all other areas of their team. But
in first down territory.
Shamad Chambers, one of the Eskimos' first-round picks this year, former Wilfrid Laurier star out of Markham High School.
9th catch of the year, and we mentioned it a couple of times. He may be ahead of schedule for the Eskimos.
Yeah, certainly seems to be. I think a lot of people look at Shamad Chambers as a great athlete, but a little bit raw, but he's making the most of this opportunity to play.
Here's Giles looking for a crease and bounces off contact for extra yards up to the 52-yard line. He looks like a scat back, but he's got some ability to run inside.
Yeah, built like a little bit of a wrecking ball. Hugh Charles, rock solid, and you heard the guys in the pregame talking about Hugh Charles and those backflips. You know, it takes an explosive athlete to be able to do that, and you think about the days of the Giz in green and gold, another guy who is chiseled from
At 51 yards rushing against Winnipeg the first time, back in his hands again, tries to get the corner down the sidelines until he's bumped out again by LaBaye.
Well, Charles accelerated so hard to that corner, it almost seemed like he wasn't going to be able to turn it up once he hit the edge. But good body control getting out there, and here he gets a nice block from number 31 at the right side of that screen. That's Calvin McCarty. In to play a bit of tight end and fullback. Matthew Bertrand, another of the injured Eskimos, the usual starting fullback.
And they stay two back with McCarty and Charles both releasing. Giles downfield, wide open, touchdown. Fred Stamps has his first of the year.
Zone coverage gets lost in there.
Hey, Hewitt, that's your drive.
That entire Eskimo bench happy to see Fred Stamps get his first major of the season.
5 plays, 75 yards. The touchdown mark. Shaw adds the extra point.
I appreciate you, Milt. All respect. On you, baby.
And a word from Milt at a 10-point Eskimo lead.
Well, things are heating up. Looks like they're trying to prove the boys on the panel wrong with the prediction of a low-scoring ball game.
Lamont Washington from his 6. Gets a block and is dragged down by Cornell along the sidelines. Another look at Fred Stamps' first touchdown of 2012.
Fred Stamps is going to run that deep crossing route from the number 3 spot. You're going to get another route coming in from the outside. What's going to happen is that the free safety, Brady Brown, is attracted to that other route coming across in front of his face. Bites down on that, allows Fred Stamps to go. He sees the other Eskimo receiver coming on the end, jumps that. Meanwhile, Stamps is in behind him for 6.
Alex Brink, Terrence Edwards, the catch. And Munoz able to slow him up. Edwards with the catch and brought down by Rod Williams at the 37-yard line.
I think for as much as the Bombers are playing from behind in this ball game, I don't think they can abandon their run game. Chad Simpson has been a pretty good weapon for them through the 2 weeks he's been in the lineup. 10 points over the course of 26 minutes. Doesn't mean you have to go airborne.
Now they go to him on 2nd and 4, and he's got the first and more. And J.C. Sharon chalks up another tackle, but this is out beyond the 50-yard line. It's a 16-yard gain for Simpson, who is gaining some momentum of his own in this game.
Well, Simpson gets a great run, but again, number 81, Corey Watson, huge block at the point of attack. He's the guy in the middle of your screen. Watch Damaso Munoz.
Back to Simpson into Eskimo territory at the 53-yard line. Pick up of 4 to 5 yards.
We talked about that physical element, Chris, that Corey Watson adds to this receiving core. One of the toughest blocking in the Canadian Football League.
Paul Appelese mentioned he wanted a more physical team and that Watson would be one guy who would stoke that. 2nd down. And the pass is complete, but on the scene, TJ Hill to bring down Chad Simpson and tell the Bombers they've got a kick.
The TJ Hill right on the spot, the guy who had the touchdown off an interception when these teams met 2 weeks ago.
So 3rd down and 3. Punt team comes on. And the Bombers will look for a pin here. Unless they've got something up, which you often wonder.
In territory, you'd think that the Eskimos will have a punt safe call on, meaning that they're very aware of the fake possibility.
Renault looks for the corner. Gets a bounce. And here's Burnett. Gain tackle before he reaches the 20-yard line. LaBay leading the surge downfield. This Is Our League is brought to you by Nissan, and tonight they saluted and we salute one of the legends of the Canadian Football League, the late Cal Murphy, who passed away in the offseason. Winner of 3 Grey Cups here in Winnipeg. For one of the legends, Bob Cameron was here also at halftime speaking about the great Cal Murphy. Eskimos, Hugh Charles breaks a tackle and a good first down run to the 31. Bob Cameron told a story at halftime about the very first Cal Murphy practice, 2.5 hours in a torrential rainstorm. He said any other coach would have said, let's stay inside, guys, but Cal Murphy said no shortcuts to a championship.
Yeah, that was very much Cal Murphy. I had the great honor and privilege of playing for him for a year here in 1993 and had the similar experience. Cal was tough as nails, but very fair.
Into the hands of Charles. This time taken down quickly. As Damon Washington moved up here, Luke LaBay, the middle linebacker. And that will set up a 2nd and 10. No gain on the play for Hugh Charles that time. As the Bomber D looks for a stop midway through this 3rd quarter. Giles now on a roll. Still looking and throws it away. Nobody open, and Brian Turner with some pressure on the quarterback. And a kicking situation for Edmonton.
Bomber secondary living up to their reputation on that play, locking everything down. Forcing Stephen Giles to take matters into his own hands.
So Washington back, Burke Dales is on. Home teams have won 14 of 16 so far this year. Bombers haven't been part of that party, and they'd like to get in on it here tonight. Washington back at the 26. And the cover good for the Eskimos. Alex Brink will be at the helm when we come back. Our sack tally brought to you by Purolator, tackling hunger across Canada. Check.
And each of these two teams with one sack thus far tonight. Edmonton remains atop the CFL. The Bombers, a long way to go, Chris, to get back to their pace of 2011.
But right now, the Purolator folks on pace, third of the way to the goal of £1 million for local food banks in 2012. Alex Brink to Chad Simpson up to the 40-yard line, and that's a pickup of 3 for Simpson. This guy is in on every stop.
But he is Mr. Everywhere. J.C. Sherritt, West Division Rookie of the Year last year. Number 47. He's going to drop into coverage here and quickly recognize the screen pass getting set up. Great reaction, and one of the CFL's most sure tacklers.
And Ho Hum is 8th tackle of the game.
Just another night at the office.
There's a pass for Vic Matthews. He's got it. And where will forward progress be ruled here as Chris Thompson wrestled him down close to a first down? The big wideout who scored that 40-yard touchdown on the final play of the first half.
Well, Matthews has been such a find for these Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year.
Give him the 48th and 8-yard pickup, a first down. He had 7 for 171 in his first meeting against Edmonton. Fake to Simpson. Brick looks further downfield and has a strike to Clarence Denmark. Taken down by Ronnie Krug, but that's another Bomber first down into Edmonton territory at the 45, 17 for Denmark.
When they get rolling, this Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense is an explosive group. And Chris, we talked in the opening about the depth that they have in the receiving corps, the number of weapons, and you're seeing Alex Brink do a terrific job spreading the ball around tonight.
Julius Williams to the sidelines for Edmonton. Brink short drop, quickly in there. And Edwards is dropped at the 40. They rule him down. Edwards trying to maintain or stay upright to get a few extra.
Little help here from the backfield. The running back, Chad Simpson, steps up to pick up that secondary blitz from Ronnie Prude. We saw Prude come free on one of those in the first half that resulted in an interception from Alex Brink under the pressure.
Bombers no huddle. Quarterback drop. Opens up. First down inside the 30-yard line. 13 for Brink.
Alex Brink in attack mode at the end of this play. This is shades of Matt Dunnigan in blue and gold. No such thing as the surrender slide. He kind of faked it with the stutter step there and drove forward.
Over 100 rushing for the Bombers as a team, but nothing there. As Simpson still upright. Simpson was tackled but ended up on top of the pile, and maybe that extra effort might have lost him yards. Let's see where they spot the ball. Looks like it's going to be a loss of about 4. Mark it at the 32, so it will be almost a 4-yard loss, and 2nd and 14. Pressure picked up, and now he's in trouble. A drop way back at the 50. There's Sean Lemon Munoz on the blitz, and they get home for a big loss. Back at the 47-yard line, a loss of 15.
Yeah, significant play in terms of pushing them back out of field goal range. Damaso Munoz comes on a twist through the inside. Fights his way through the block to get in on that along with Sean Lemon.
Well, again, Kevis Reed mentioned yesterday he thought Lemon would be a guy to watch tonight, and Sean Lemon has the sack, They lose 19 on the last 2 plays and end up out of field goal range. Pressure on Renault, and they block the kick. Ball is loose, and Winnipeg's got it. And they'll get it close to first down. Is that Jeremy McGee who comes up with the ball? And beyond the line of scrimmage, Winnipeg will maintain possession, I believe.
We'll wait for the ruling on the field. Determine exactly how this ball came across. The man with the block is number 19, Hugo Lopez. He comes free through the upbacks.
Now, did the ball get beyond the line of scrimmage?
It was touched, but see, if it crosses the line of scrimmage, even after being blocked or it's considered tipped, yards still have to be given. So clearly the initial ruling here is that it didn't cross the line of scrimmage, so that when an Eskimo touched it, it didn't matter that there were players within that 5-yard radius.
Did not cross the line of scrimmage. Touched an Edmonton player, recovered legally by a Winnipeg player. It's first down Winnipeg.
Glenn Johnson confirms exactly the way you read it. And now the challenge flag. And because... Just wondering about no yards here on the ball not crossing the line of scrimmage. No yards is not a
if it doesn't cross the line. So the ruling was that it didn't cross. I'm sure that's what Camus Reed is going to challenge. Now we have the line of scrimmage on that play as the 47-yard line. So we'll get a chance to take a look at this again. As you can see, the ball snapped from the 47.
First touch on the kick. We'll review the play.
Keep an eye on where the Eskimo player first touches this ball.
And it's
there's
very close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, there's your 47. If you were going to draw a line straight across from there, it is going to be close. It looks like he might be a hair behind that line. Very close call, which is probably going to go in the Bombers' favor.
Nothing else inconclusive. Maybe this angle gives you a better perspective.
And I would say he's definitely behind that line. If you draw right across, he's behind it.
Just about every week you see something you've never seen before. And if it holds up for the Bombers, they get a huge break, and the football at the Edmonton 28.
After review, the ball was touched behind the line of scrimmage by Edmonton. The ruling on the field stands. First down Winnipeg.
Not a lot's gone Winnipeg's way in the opening 4 weeks of the year, but there's a break that we'll see if the Bombers can capitalize on.
A very timely one. It's unfortunate for the Edmonton Eskimos. You know you're only going to get so many chances in the course of a season to perfectly execute a punt block, and there they did it, only to have the bounce work against them.
Newcomer Jeremy McGee signed 2 weeks ago. Probably has never been part of a play like that before.
Good, man.
Yeah, from Jeremy McGee's perspective, I suspect that no yards never crossed his mind.
No doubt. Officials still conferring.
Now it's up to the Bombers to make the most of this opportunity.
Well, the ball's on the 24-yard line. First down. Still a 2-score game. Here comes heat again, but they get it into the hands of Simpson. A touchdown inside the 10, and they run it out at the 5. The former Indy Colt, Chad Simpson sets up first and goal.
And Alex Brink sacrifices to make this play as the heat's coming right up the middle from his old friend J.C. Sherritt. Brink, though, recognizes blitz, gets rid of the ball quickly. Great job to make a play under pressure by the Bombers' young quarterback.
Brink out of shotgun with Simpson in behind. Corey Watson to block. Simpson, touchdown. His first Canadian Football League touchdown. Chad Simpson.
Things opened up here. Keep an eye on the center. It's Justin Sorensen, number 68. He's got to reach front side. He takes Armando Sewell out of there. Opens things up.
Well, a break for the Bombers, and they take full advantage. And now one man short on the extra point attempt, and Enoch Mwamba has to scramble out, and they'll have to do it from further back as they take too long.
Time count violation. Winnipeg number 17. 5-yard penalty. We'll repeat the convert.
So Pilardi moves back a little. But puts it through. Bombers cut the lead. Now within a field goal with under 2 to go here in the third quarter. Well, Chad Simpson into the end zone for the first time in the CFL to cap a short drive after the punt block by Edmonton that ended up turning sour for the Eskimos. The good news for the Eskimos, Dwayne, is that on the last 3 scores for Winnipeg, the Eskimo offense has answered with a score of their own. Let's see if that continues. Good line drive boot. Burnett from his 5. Flags down. And Burnett's cut down across the 35-yard line. Mwamba knocks him out.
There you see the Eskimo leaders thus far tonight. Hugh Charles continues to be a force from the backfield.
Edmonton number 49. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Mike Cornell, the University of Ottawa product, called on the return, so that backs up the Eskimos. And that'll cue the crowd here in Winnipeg. First down for Edmonton at the 10. No official word on attendance, very close to a sellout, which would be the 8th consecutive here in Winnipeg.
I don't think the swagger's back yet, Chris, but the noise sure is. Saw Jonathan Heffney doing his part to get this place rocking.
Eskimos have practiced the silent count, getting ready for this. See how they do. Take the Charles. Charles, a corner, down he goes. Alex Hall got home, but he may have drawn a flag with the high tackle back at the 1. Went high on Giles, and that's going to cost him 15.
You'll get another look. Alex Hall's coming from the middle of your screen, number 96.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think initial contact was on the head either. That's going to break.
Valuable real estate. Now Charles trying to get outside, and he gets 2, maybe 3. Hit by Hall and LeVay.
Last year, it seemed like this was where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defense did so much of their damage, because they had the combination of a fierce pass rush. As we take another look,
You make
the tackle
call.
by Hall. Well, I wouldn't have made a call, in all honesty, on this one. A violent collision, but looked like Hall's first contact was around the shoulders.
McCarty and Charles in the backfield. Flags down, and the play doesn't get off.
Fusion for offenses.
Prior to the 20-second clock running out, Edmonton called a timeout.
So that avoids the penalty. And it remains 2nd and 7. And it remains loud. Could be the final play of the 3rd quarter. Here comes pressure. They dump it off. Charles the catch. Javon Johnson couldn't bring it down, but the game tackle rallied to the football at the 30. And stop Charles short. It is the end of 3 quarters here. 3 points the difference in Winnipeg. Well, it was 1-1 midway through the 2nd quarter. It's getting interesting, and there are the numbers after 3 quarters.
Yeah, things have heated up, and I think if one guy deserves a lot of the credit for this, I'm going to give that credit to Alex Brink, the Blue Bombers quarterback, a guy who came off a terrible week last week in Toronto, had some adversity in the first half of this football game, but did exactly what you want any player to do, but most specifically your quarterback, shaking off that adversity and making some big plays for his team.
I think it was us at 1-1 asking whether he would get to play in the second half. He has answered that question emphatically, but still trails the Eskimos with the 3-point lead as we start the 4th quarter. And Burkdale's on to kick it away. Alex Brink and company should get the ball in decent field position. But then again, Burkdale's one of the best at his craft, and he might have other plans here. And if there is a wind advantage, it will be behind the Bombers in the 4th. Gale's not a great kick, but it catches Washington halfway. Here comes Washington to the 50. And brought down there. There's Mike Cornell, who's been busy tonight. And Alex Brink. And the Bombers come out to try and counter this 3-point Edmonton lead.
Alex Brink, 249 passing yards in this bounce-back game for him. Corey Watson, a welcome addition back into that receiving core in his first game of the year, 6 catches. Chad Simpson continues to impress. His 2nd CFL start at running back for the Bombers, providing 108 yards of total offense. And we'll take the opportunity to have a look at life on special teams. Mike Miller, who's earned a reputation through his first 2 years in the CFL. Michel-Pierre Pontbriand and Nathan Riva with the double team on the S special team star.
The pride of Riverview, New Brunswick, leading the Eskimos, as you see, with 7 coming into the game on the teams. And Lawrence on his feet and headed off. 63% of games so far through the first 4 weeks of the year have been decided in the final 3 minutes. And I think that percentage may go up tonight.
I think that's a safe bet if the first 45 minutes are any indication.
Bombers to work and a short pass complete to Matthews. Munoz there to make sure he doesn't get too far. At midfield or close to it. Let's see where they spot it. Still on the Bombers' side of half. A 4-yard pickup at the Winnipeg 54.
It was just a counter boot type play for the Bombers. Matthews motioned down like he was going to block and then drifted back out to the flat.
So 2nd and 6. Rick has time over the middle of Clarence Edwards. Had it go through his hands. A 2 and out for the Bombers offense.
Alex Brink put it in the right place. Terrence Edwards just unable to make the catch. And what the boys in the studio alluded to is the season of drops.
4-year-old Edwards in his 8th year. Joe Burnett, who made the big play last week in the 4th quarter, an interception return against the Lions, is back for this punt return. And fields it inside the 10. And quick cover there. Flag flies. We'll sort it out when we come back. The block against the Eskimos. And now the Edmonton Eskimos will start at their own 5-yard line. A precarious 3-point lead for Stephen Giles and company. Gets to the out. Watch Shamad Chambers, who has the catch at the 9-yard line, maybe the 10. We'll call it a 4-yard pickup for the rookie.
This sets up a huge 2nd down play for the Edmonton Eskimos, Chris. You always talk when you get the ball in this territory of the field about you need to get at least 2 first downs to move the football, balance things in terms of field position.
Directing traffic. Flags fly. Back to Chambers behind him. Incomplete. What's the call from Glenn Johnson? Couple of flags as the officials both saw the same thing. Early movement, Edmonton, which will be declined.
Procedure, Edmonton, no end. Our penalties decline. 3rd down.
So now Cavis Reed has a decision.
Now it's the Edmonton Eskimos working against that slight breeze as well, Chris, which I know will factor into Cavis Reed's decision of whether or not he's going to try and kick this out of the end zone or not.
I think he's pleading the case that that shouldn't have been a penalty. Regardless, it was an incompletion. It's 3rd down. And does Brookdale take a knee or kick away? Damon Washington awaiting at the Edmonton 50. And Dales fakes. And now we'll go for a run. And he'll just get pushed out. So it is 2. And a 1-point game now, 21-20. Well, the 2012 Senior Open Championship has returned to the Alyssa Championship course at Turnberg Resort in Scotland for the 7th time. Coverage of the 2nd round continues tomorrow on TSN and TSN Mobile TV starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. 1-point game, and the Eskimos will now kick off. Bombers get their hands on the ball with about 12 minutes left in what's turned out to be a very interesting night. Edmonton trying to go to 4-1, and the Bombers looking to be 1-4.
Well, at the very least, it's been a more inspired effort from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers than we saw over the last couple weeks of their 4-game road spell to open the season.
So the kickoff will come from the Edmonton 25. Off the heavy leg of Grant Shaw.
The Blue Bomber bench has implored the returners to move up a little bit with the ball being kicked from the 25.
Washington does take it at the 25. Now bubbles outside, but decent cover by the Eskimos on the kick return.
Alex Brink put up solid points, as Matt Dunnigan talked about, working into that wind. Now he has the benefit of the breeze at his back for the fourth quarter. Trailing by just a point.
22 of 32 on the night, Alex Brink, so that's 69%, the big improvement over the 9 for 34 last week. It's that over the middle, it's caught, and look out, oh, it's Denmark, but it's coming back. There is a flag down, and Denmark brought down inside the 5, but a penalty is going to negate one of the biggest plays of the night. And Damaso Munoz is down and getting attention for the Edmonton Eskimos.
Holding, Winnipeg number 55. 10-yard penalty, repeat, first down.
Paul Swiston into the game on the offensive line, gets called on the hold.
Keep an eye on the nose. Aramis Yohn, he's the man who's going to get held by Swiston. He beats him to the outside. Swiston keeps the clutch on him to keep him from getting to the quarterback, but the officials weren't going to miss that.
It negates a 66-yard play. Swiston started the night as the extra offensive lineman. Rookie 6'9", out of Calgary, and now in at right guard. So Munoz makes his way to the sidelines.
As this play broke upfield, Damaso Munoz, number 45, just got ear hold. I think that was Corey Watson again.
Wow.
So Swiston in for Steve Morley at right guard. First and 20. Downfield, catch made. Terrence Edwards gets the penalty yardage back and maybe a yard or two more, setting up 2nd and 8.
And I know we keep making the same point, as you just saw that huge block by Corey Watson. He's going to come in here with the block. This is, again, slot back being asked to block the defensive end. He's the guy who seals the corner. That allows Alex Brink to get to the outside.
2nd and 8. Brink over the middle. Incomplete. Edwards couldn't hold on with Ronnie Prude there defensively for Edmonton.
Well, Ronnie Prude continues his strong debut in the Eskimos secondary. Already with an interception in this game and a hurry on the quarterback that led to another interception.
24 games of experience with the Baltimore Ravens. So Mike Renaud and the punt team comes on, and Joe Burnett drops back. Good kick by Renaud, and a bounce that is misplayed and booted out by Burnett. So again, the Eskimos will start deep after a 53-yard kick. Well, we wondered, was this an intentional kick out of bounds? If it was, it's a change of possession, and Winnipeg gets the ball back. The famous Harry Aboff's 1971 play that helped preserve Calgary's Grey Cup victory.
The ruling here is more the ball hit him in the
foot rather than he kicked it out of bounds. So no change of possession.
Inadvertent, but the Eskimos are backed up, and Hugh Charles wants to change that with a good run as he bounces off contact for 8.
And just to go back to that thought, Chris, on the kicked ball, it's one that comes up a lot of times because teams used to frequently coach defensive players on a fumbled ball to kick it down the field to advance the football and chase it. But if the ball was accidentally kicked out of bounds, it would automatically become the other team's possession.
But in that case, he's just handcuffed or maybe foot cuffed, and Edmonton stays with the football. 2nd and 2. Maybe shorter than that as Charles ran out of real estate. He lost yards. Certainly didn't get to the first down. And that'll bring up 3rd down and likely the punt team for Edmonton.
Well, and this is just fierce pursuit to the football. As we've seen Hugh Charles a couple times manage to get around the corner on this play with pure speed, but Jonathan Hefney sheds the block and gets there to make the play.
And indeed, Burke Dales comes on.
Hefney settling into his new role.
A reluctant Sam linebacker.
Yeah, Jonathan Hefney wanted to remain beside his partner in crime, Javon Johnson, as the boundary halfback.
Washington awaits just inside the Bomber 50. Dales the boot. Washington right at the 50. And across midfield and get popped there. Corbin Sharoon always active on the teams for Edmonton with the tackle, but good field position for Alex Brink.
What you're seeing, although Winnipeg didn't score right away off the kickoff from the safety, you're still seeing the effect of the Eskimos having taken that safety and having to kick off from their own 25 as you get that exchange back and forth to field position a couple of times.
Bombers did lead 1-0 early, looking for their first lead since. Simpson crashing down close to the Edmonton 50-yard line. Julius Williams in on the tackle. Again, this Edmonton defense without Marcus Howard tonight, nursing a hamstring injury. Second and 6. Short drop, good hitter, first down. Edwards along the sidelines, wanted a penalty. And he says that's happened twice tonight. Ronnie Prude may or may not have got away with one. Let's take another look.
Yeah, we'll have another look here. Great execution there on 2nd down.
That one looked okay too, didn't it?
It did. It did. It looked like Prude grabbed underneath the shoulder pads. So I initially wondered about a horsepower.
First down draw, Chad Simpson. And he is wrapped and pushed back down close to the 35-yard line. Should have 4 more. As Edwards continues the debate, but without video support.
Yeah, Terrence Edwards needs to let this one go and get back to catching footballs.
Well, a team that was 2 for 18 on 2nd down last week has a big 2nd down play here. Brink over the middle and surge forward enough for the first down. And Corey Watson continues to make an impact.
Yeah, sight for sore eyes in that Bomber offensive huddle. You know, sometimes overshadowed by what you might call some of the more spectacular receivers in that Blue Bomber group of pass catchers, but we've seen tonight what a key Corey Watson is to this offense.
What a job to keep his knee off the ground there, and now looking deep into the end zone. Incomplete, looking for Edwards. Into double coverage.
It looked for a second there like the Winnipeg native, Donovan Alexander at free safety for Edmonton. Might get there for a pick.
Has 1 tonight. Edmonton has 2. Brink will reload for 2nd and 10. Justin Sorensen making the calls, and now it's a quarterback drop. And Brink down to the 20. He'll be a couple yards short. And likely the field goal team comes on with a chance for Pilardi to give Winnipeg the lead.
I kind of like the play call to mix it up, because certainly at times 2nd and 10, where everybody's anticipating the Bombers are going to throw the football, that's exactly the time when you go with things from your screen draw package. Alex Brink has shown he's very capable of running that quarterback draw effectively.
So Pilardi from 27 yards out. 11 for 12 on the season. 12 for 13, and the Bombers have the lead. Lots of time left, though. Eskimos take over at their 35 and now down by a pair. Winnipeg's biggest lead of the night is much. Jonathan Hefty can't bring it in.
Oh, what a break to that football by Hefty.
Well, Stephen Giles gets away with one as Hefty comes that close to a pick six.
Yeah, Jonathan Hefty was reading his mail on that one.
Barry Cope, the intended target. So is Giles. Big play conversion by Stamps. And it looks like the penalty is going to be on the Bombers.
Well, this is just great execution by both Fred Stamps and Stephen Giles. The recognition of both players here. Stephen Giles knows the heat is coming. He's got to put the ball up. And he's got faith in his receiver, Fred Stamps, to take that hole in the middle of the field.
Long discussion for Glenn Johnson's group. Let's see if it stands. And you wonder if there was an ineligible player on the field. Is that why there might be a discussion with the card?
They're looking at that list they're given before the game. Includes information of who the designated imports are, who players are that may play as eligibles with non-eligible numbers. Any of those players who have to report to officials before a play.
So they might pick up the flag, but it is going to be a big play for the Eskimos. 27 yards to Stamps.
There's no infraction on the play.
So the right complement of players was on the field after all. Fred Stamps having his biggest gain of the season. Only 110 yards coming in. Close to 100 tonight. Giles gets it outside and down to the 44-yard line for Hugh Charles.
A couple of
75 yards on the night for Charles on 14 carries. 5 there, 2nd and 5. Not quite field goal range. Well, they might try it from outside 50 with Shaw, but Tim Burke wants to stop, and Stephen Giles wants a few more. Flags down, and the play not off. And did they get the play snapped in time? Zeros on the play clock.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 3. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
And remember, they've used their timeout already to save one of those here in the second half.
Yeah, dealing with that noise earlier. In the third quarter of this football game, the Eskimos had to burn a timeout to avoid a time count.
Second and 10. Giles scrambles, flag is down, pass complete. Kuhorn would have a first down, but it looks like this is coming back.
Yeah, it looked like Alex Hall, defensive end for Winnipeg, got held on the play.
Holding. Edmonton number 50. 10-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
That's on the left tackle, Oren Thompson.
His second of the game, I believe.
But watch the burst, first of all, from Hall out of his stance, and then he jumps inside on Thompson, and that's where he's got to grab him to recover. Nice change up there by Hall on the rush lane.
Hall's had his best game.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you have on second and 20? Stephen Giles. Little early movement there, and the flag does fly. Giles gets away from the initial pressure. Has a free play here, and incomplete. Wanted Kuhorn over the middle, but again, a little jump on the cadence from Giles will give them another play. 5 yards up.
It looked like Alex Hall twitched. He kind of caught himself, whether he fell over the line into that 1-yard neutral zone or not.
Offside. Winnipeg number 96. 5-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
So Hall to the sidelines along with JT Gilmore. Now Gilmore back in.
Now this is one of the things Alex Hall is going to have to be aware of. He's a guy who, when you watch his stance, very much lined up like a sprinter with all his weight on his front hand.
Second and 15. Long out, and it is. Well, they were stopping play before. I think the catch was made by Kuhorn. So the officials ruling that play did not get off. Now the question was, play ever whistled in?
Prior to the ball being snapped, Winnipeg called timeout. Timeout, Winnipeg.
Was a little confusion. A couple of Bombers came off the field. Gilmore went back. So the officials ruling that play did not get off. Now the question was, play ever whistled in?
Prior to the ball being snapped, Winnipeg called timeout. Timeout, Winnipeg.
Was a little confusion. A couple of Bombers came off the field. Gilmore went back out. And maybe they didn't have the right complement, and the timeout was used.
Both teams forced to burn their timeouts here in the second half.
It's good to be back in Winnipeg. We waited a month to get here. But the atmosphere is what we've grown to get used to here.
Yeah, 0-4 hasn't made these fans any less enthusiastic.
Giles trying to climb him. Steps up, takes off. And Stephen Giles is met by Huffney short of the first down at the 45-yard line. And does Kivas Reed send out Grant Shaw or not? Do you play field position with 3 minutes to go, or do you go for the go-ahead points? He's got some time to think about it. The 3-minute warning given to the benches. Well, the plot thickens here. Grant Shaw not going in. Burke Dales will punt. Instead of a 52-yard attempt into the breeze, Beavis Reed, with plenty of time left, is going to send out Burke Dales, and his job is not to score a point here, isn't
Exactly. Exactly. The point isn't of value to the Edmonton Eskimos right now. The field position is they want to put this game in the hands of the defense that has been their strength all season long.
The 2-point lead. Dales looks for the corner. And he's going to, or is he going to keep it in play? It gets a
great decision.
Bounce, and Javon Johnson played it perfectly. Not what Burke Dales wanted.
Well, and notice, Damon Washington's the guy who's been back on most of the punts in this ball game. Javon Johnson's been back on maybe one, but in this critical situation, you want the veteran guy, one of your leaders, and Javon Johnson made a great decision there to let that ball bounce.
So instead of starting inside their 10-yard line, Bombers get the ball at the 35. Reed and the Eskimos still trailing. But a lot can unfold in this final 2:37. Quick to throw. Terrence Edwards the catch. And he's tossed out close to the first down. Just inside the 45, it's going to be second and less than a yard.
Keep an eye on the feet of Terrence Edwards here on this route. He sets that up with the jab to the inside, quick out, nice timing throw from Alex Brink.
7 catches on the night for Edwards. And although the Bombers probably don't want to fool around with this, you could argue they get a free play here with 2nd and inches. But you probably don't want to look at 3rd down, do you?
I'd say not. This isn't, it's likely not. Never say never in the Canadian Football League, but likely not one of those times where you line up and throw the bomb on 2nd and inches.
Surprised we got a measurement there because it started on the 35 and the ball clearly not at the 45, but to get the exact spot, they bring the chains out. So about the length of the football away as Stephen Giles waits, hoping he can get another chance. And Alex Brink's job is to keep Giles and company on the sidelines. Neither team has a timeout left. The plunge is good for the first down.
Just created a little misdirection with a signal with his foot to send his receivers in motion to try and get that defense to loosen up a little bit.
Teams played in the hurry up almost the whole night, and now they're in no hurry at all. And the officials have stopped the clock. And they're going to conference again. Make sure everything's done right.
Timer, please put 2:29 on the game clock. 2:29.
Somebody started the clock before the play clock began, and Beavis Reed's not going to miss that.
It's good to be home.
And the reset procedure taking some time. The old Canadians clock getting put through its paces for one more year. Now we're ready. And the clock will start as Glenn Judson whistles it back in.
As you alluded to a moment ago, Chris, this is a time for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers where they're going to use all of that play clock every opportunity they get.
See Steve Morley back in at right guard. Hand off Simpson. And Simpson plows for close to 7. Up across the 50. We'll call it 6 and 2nd and 4.
And this is where we'll find out a little something about Chad Simpson and this remodeled Winnipeg Blue Bomber offensive line.
And Mark Nelson's defense. Laurent goes to the sidelines. 2nd and 4. Back to Simpson. He will get it. Big stop. Chad Simpson dropped after just 1. Ronnie Prude steps up. Clutch tackle. And the Eskimos going to get their hands back on the ball.
Watch for Prude, number 27, coming in secondary support here. Steps up, meets Simpson in the hole. Gives him no place to cut.
Former Bomber Don Arama Sion also there on the tackle. Mike Renaud. Low snap. Gets the boot away. 2 men back, and it's Kerry Cope fielding that. And he's brought down at the 27. What great cover by Dustin Doe. 1:22 remaining here in the 4th quarter. Our game story brought to you by Mr. Lube. Get top to bottom maintenance and take good care.
Well, we've seen a couple of pretty good running backs go head-to-head tonight. Hugh Charles, Chad Simpson, 112 yards for Charles, 122 for Simpson. Bombers still struggling with those turnovers, but find themselves on the brink of their first win. Alex Brink approaching 300 yards passing.
And he's getting on their feet at Canadians. Right down. Giles the out. Gary Cope the catch. Trying to get out of bounds. And again, let's see what the flag's all about.
A series of flags down across the back of that secondary.
And it looks like the Bombers have 13 men on the field. Yep. They do.
Yes, I think ever since one famous Grey Cup, we all think the same thing when those flags fly simultaneously.
And when Winnipeg calls another province.
Too many men. Winnipeg. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Enjoys the call.
We'll see if we can spot them all for the Blue Bombers.
It up to the 37-yard line. Giles gets it away over the middle, and a big catch is made there, or does it? Kerry Cope, and now they're ruling incomplete. Cope tries to sell it, but the Bombers surrounding him help the officials with that call. 2nd and 10.
Johnny Sears in coverage. Right with Kerry Coke on this in route. See Sears got the right arm in there to pry that ball free.
Last play is under review by the command center.
So the command center will review it. That replay would indicate the right call was made on the field.
Here we are in the last 3 minutes. This review initiated by the command center. Kerry Coke, number 2 receiver, 2nd from the top of your screen. Initially looked like he had it.
And didn't argue the incomplete call.
Right arm of Johnny Sears. He doesn't have control, and there's the ball clearly on the ground.
Does give Stephen Giles the opportunity to confer on the sidelines. Again, neither team with a timeout.
After review, the ball hit the ground. The ruling on the field stands.
Even the head coach wants noise and calls for it. 2nd and 10. Giles over the middle, incomplete. Johnson on Coke. No flag.
It was Alex Hall again in the face of Stephen Giles as he delivered that football. 96 Hall working against Oren Thompson. Nice move to swim back to the inside. That's fitting on a night where Richard Harris is honored that a young defensive lineman should have a breakthrough game.
Down to a single play. They need 10. Giles has it. Nate Cohorn has a big first down across midfield with exactly a minute to go. The second-year receiver out of Medicine Hat with his biggest catch in the Canadian Football League.
It sure is. Shows you the development of Nate Cohorn being called upon in this situation. Young man who had just a couple of catches as a rookie.
19-yard catch. The Eskimos still alive. Giles the other. Got Corey Cook again. He'll stop the clock with 50 remaining. And now very close, if not in Grant Shaw range.
Yeah, Grant Shaw was one of the strongest legs in the Canadian Football League. This is a guy who regularly hit from 50-plus in college at the University of Saskatchewan. Working into a win here.
First down at the bar, 41. Giles calls his own number. And Stephen Giles fumbles it, and the Bombers have it. Javon Johnson's got the football. Was Stephen Giles down? Otherwise, the Bombers are going to win their first of 2012.
I was thinking to myself as Stephen Giles took off with that football and cut back to the inside. Called his own number, but he's got to take care of it. That front point to the ball was free. You could see exactly that front point was free.
Well, they'll review it.
Notice how the front point of the ball is exposed. You always teach young players to cover the point. There it's punched out. Knees are off the ground. No question. Bomber football.
Is that young Jake Thomas, the 21-year-old defensive tackle, looks like he gets the strip. And Giles, who had engineered a march that got them into scoring range, that run would have just about cemented it, and you see his reaction. Yeah, it is. Douglas, New Brunswick's Jake Thomas.
After review, it was a fumble. The ruling on the field stands.
And that's his biggest moment in the Canadian Football League. The rookie defensive tackle, former Team Canada player of last year's World Championships. And this one will be tough to swallow on that sideline.
It sure will. One that slipped through their hands.
And now Alex Brink and Chad Simpson. All they have to do is secure the football. Well, after a shaky first quarter, a couple of early interceptions, a bounce-back night for Alex Brink.
Yeah, and you got to love the way that Alex Brink responded to that first half adversity. Second quarter, the discussion up here was whether or not he was going to see the field in the third quarter. For those final minutes of the second quarter where he turned things around, put his team back in this ball game, and continued to battle and perform through the second half. Set the Bombers up for their first win of 2012.
Should be able to run this out. Marcus Crandall trying to console Giles. Boy, would he have taken some heat off himself if the Eskimos would have capped that with the field goal. Brink will run it down and put a knee down with under 20 to go. They'll get back in victory formation and snap it one more time. Little heat on Police. A badly needed win.
It's okay, Paul, you can exhale.
A bye week for the Eskimos, another home game next week for Winnipeg against Montreal. Now in the win column.
Welcome home, Bombers.
What a battle tonight. Reed and LaPolice, Stephen Giles can only think of what could have been. 23-22, Bombers win.
He was going to see the field in the third quarter for those final minutes of the second quarter where he turned things around, put his team back in this ball game, and continued to battle and perform through the second half. Set the Bombers up for their first win of 2012.
Should be able to run this out. Marcus Crandall trying to console Giles. Boy, would he have taken some heat off himself if the Eskimos would have capped that with the field goal. Brink will run it down and put a knee down with under 20 to go. They'll get back in victory formation and snap it one more time. Little heat on Police. A badly needed win.
It's okay, Paul, you can exhale.
A bye week for the Eskimos, another home game next week for Winnipeg against Montreal. Now in the win column.
Welcome home, Bombers.
What a battle tonight. Reed and LaPolice, Stephen Giles can only think of what could have been. 23-22, Bombers win.